Man, I got lots of feelings. Lots of feelings. Just I got feelings about like everything. They're mild feelings, most of them. Most of my feelings are mild. A mild interest. That's my most common. Oops. Jiminy Christmas. Um, one of the things I feel is that it's good to admit your feelings, to admit them into your sphere, right? To accept your feelings. It's good to admit them into your sphere and then to accept that they're there. Now, I know that's a problem because a lot of people might worry and might have a genuine worry that they feel worthless and bad or something wrong with them. Um, Mostly, this is just about getting over the fear of mental health issues. We're in an era where everybody either knows they have a mental health problem or has a mental health problem they don't know about. So you can just accept that. However, you don't need to believe it just because you feel you're worthless. Probably not. You have to remember that a lot of people in this era mistake pessimism for realism. If you're pessimistic and cynical, then that seems more real. People that are positive and upbeat, people think they're fooling themselves. Okay, and often they are. That's true too. However, that doesn't make pessimism realistic. Okay, so you should admit to yourself what feels good, right? But don't necessarily do it right off. Because if it's a bad thing and you can figure out it's a bad thing, then you should admit that you have a problem, right? And then you should find good things to enjoy. Find things that you think are good that you also enjoy. Don't do the things that you admit would feel good, like murdering your enemies with a hammer. Don't do that, right? You can admit that you think it would feel good. You also admit that you don't think it would be a good thing to do. Admit that that's a problem, wanting that, and then just find other good things that you think are good that you enjoy gardening or writing poems for beautiful. I don't even want to be biased when I say it. So, for people you find beautiful. Um, yeah, I just have a lot of feelings about so many things, and I don't trust people that bury their feelings. I don't think it's healthy to pretend that you're above your feelings. It's not honest. Um, and I know it's not true. And the people that do it, that pretend to be above their feelings, uh, they're quite often the most encased in their feelings. So much so that uh, they can't even acknowledge that they have feelings. And that's primarily what they're dealing with all the time is feelings about things. They can't admit that. They don't admit this into their sphere. It's like, no, I don't have feelings. This is objectivity. This is a feeling free zone. No spin in here, no feelings. Yeah, right. I mean, please. Okay, so I have a commenter. Forgot to change the title again. Better do it now then after it uploads. Um, so a character from Breaking Bad um, was saying, he's caught me that I'm a realist. because I believe in a concrete reality. He keeps saying objective reality. I'm not I'm not going to let this be reduced to mere wordplay, but I would say concrete. You can't really call it objective when that you think a potential photon goes through both slits, interferes with itself and becomes an actual photon. Or when you believe general relativity and time for him is going slow and for him time for me is going slow, and those are both true. That's not what we mean by a traditional realism, an object-based realism. I believe I believe it's pure relationships of fields and energy. So you don't have to believe that, but how are you going to categorize it? That's the point of this video. I think your folk categories, refined over the millennia, um, are not going to suffice. Furthermore, your idea of relativism, your idea of skepticism, is not what the relativists and skeptics have been saying. It is a characterization by the mainstream, which has always maligned those philosophies. What skeptics themselves have said it was is different from how it got characterized. You can use those categories invented as characterizations from one point of view, which maybe is the herd you've adopted, and that's fine. Do it, okay? But I don't really care if the fact that there isn't actually a name for the philosophy that I have to me is not surprising. And I don't have to like shear off parts of my philosophy to fit in one of the holes that you think uh, are suitable for your ontology about epistemic philosophies, or however you want to put it. I say that there is a definite that this mainstream characterization of relativism is useless because they're describing nihilism, where nothing has a foundation. That's not what Pyrrho said. Pyrrho said, be empirical, assent to what seems to be the case, just realize that whatever you think seems to be the case is still just a theory, and it's subject to more pondering and thinking over and mulling over and the taking of more appearances, aka evidence. Right? It's a philosophy that you can always dig into something deeper. It's not a philosophy that nothing exists to dig into. Not at all. Right? It is a philosophy based on the fact that we continually get information. So the categories that, you know, that I accept have to do with ways of explaining what I believe. So, for example, relativism, yeah, it's not objectivity because there's relative truths. You don't get to choose your own truths. It's just that your velocity, well, it isn't absolute. Velocity isn't one of your properties. It's one of your relationships to something else. That's the idea. It can be concrete and outside, and yes, I do believe that. And if you think that a person that believes that should be called a realist, okay, just realize that I don't believe what, 1,000 years of realists believe. Right? I have a different idea where, like Susskind says, the person falling into a black hole, they can experience going into the black hole, and everybody else sees them slowing down and never quite making it. And there's really two different experiences. How is that possible? Well, I would say that there is probably some common core that makes it one thing, but it's a set of relationships, right? And there's a truth between those relationships, but those relationships themselves even look different to another thing that's going by. So even the relationships are relative. And that's how it seems to me. That's not traditional objective realism. So it seems more honest to say I'm a relativist. And just to emphasize that what I mean by that is not some category or characterization of relativism. I think it's fair for me to point to physical relativism. I'm talking about, for example, the fact of velocity relativity, Galilean relativity, that supplies a metaphor to, philosophical relativity. So maybe yes, I'm talking about a different thing because I don't believe in the phlogiston. We're moving forward. We're improving our understanding of these ideas. But you can categorize me with whatever categories you have available to you. What else are you going to do? Oh, well, you could create a new category if you're capable of that, but only a very few people are or seem to be capable of that. So if that's not you, then you're not going to do that. And I understand. I think that's reasonable. Too bad for you.